Let's talk about the Defund the Police movement. I'm going to take a moment and editorialize here. And I say any fair-minded, rational individual with the ability to think critically has to question the merits of this kind of policy. This kind of policy can destabilize society. It is simply incongruent with basic common sense. Law enforcement is the only line of defense against a criminal element and innocent law-abiding citizens. In your opinion, LaRon, what has been the impact of this policy both on law enforcement and the citizens of the community?
Well, I'll tell you what, when I was police chief in 2020, when we had the riots going on, the protests going on, I was vocal. I was in uniform, standing in front of the cameras, the media, saying, if you defund the police, it will negatively impact people who live in poor neighborhoods, people who have low incomes. And I always said that, it will have a negative impact on those individuals who live there. And sure enough, it did. Over the last 2 years, we've seen African Americans become more victimized in homicides. 32% increase in homicide victims in the African American community. And I think largely it is due to the Defund the Police movement. Three of the worst words uttered in the human language when it comes to law enforcement: defund the police. Police officers have retired, they have resigned, they have left to other places like Georgia, Florida, because those governors are offering them hefty salaries, hefty bonuses, signing bonuses to leave New York and states like California, where police are not supported, to go down there and live and relocate. So it's leaving places like New York less safe. We have a lot of people who are leaving New York because of people who are not, they don't feel safe. So we have businesses, we have, citizens who are leaving. So Defund the Police was a social experiment that is no longer working. That should have never even gotten to the point where it is. So it's just something sad that I think many people who were calling for defund the police did not live in the areas where they were calling for defund the police. They came to communities, cities, urban areas across the country, made a demand, and unfortunately there are politicians who listened to that demand. They went far left. And now I think what we're seeing is politicians try to find their way back to the center. Why? Maybe because there's an election coming. There's an election coming. But I think the American people will not be fooled, because we can't be fooled, because the election is November 8th, November 9th, they will go back and double down on the policies, as you stated, defund the police, that just didn't work for our communities. And right now we have a policing shortage. In the city of Rochester, they're down nearly 100 police officers. Across the country, we're down almost 100,000 police officers. And recruitment is down, but retirements are up, because police officers, as soon as they are able to leave, they're leaving the force. Even the ones who are not able to leave are looking for other careers because you don't feel appreciated. And as a police chief, I've fired cops, I've suspended cops, and I've held cops accountable when they needed to be. But what we have to do is stand up for cops, because they are the thin line that keeps this community safe. When people need help, they call 911. And we are a nation built on law and order. And that's what our Constitution is about. We are a nation built on law and order. And when we begin to break down the fabric of society in which we were built, which is public safety, law enforcement, we're at a terrible place. And I think we are seeing that. Last year we were one of many cities that broke homicide records.
Yes, I saw that.
81 homicides. It's just unbelievable.
Do you think the politicians really understand that? And as I said, it's just incongruent with common sense. Why would they have that mantra, defund the police? I mean, what's behind that, really, do you think?
Well, I think many people try to use it as many people use it as an opportunity to, I think, exploit some of the things that have gone on in history. We know that there is a relationship between sometimes the African American community and law enforcement, but we don't have to make this a zero-sum game. We can try to improve things, we can try to improve conditions, but we don't have to wipe out one entity or another. You know, defunding the police was the worst thing that was ever uttered. Those 3 words, worst 3 words ever uttered when it came to law enforcement. And I said it. Many police officers predicted it. We were on, when I was police chief, me and my command staff were on the phone with Governor Cuomo's office and said that if you defund the police, you know, you will tie the hands of law enforcement, you know, probation, parole, in the courts where they did criminal justice reform in New York State. And certainly we are seeing the effects of it now. But to answer your question about why politicians did it is because, one, I think politicians are weak sometimes, and because you have to stand for something. And you have to be able to stand for what the people want. And those that went along with this defund the police movement had no idea what the people wanted. Because as a police chief, when I was a police chief in the city of Rochester, and I walked the streets, and I walked the streets quite a bit, and I talked to many people, they did not want to defund the police. And this is from the African American community. We are the ones who need the police the most.
Yes.
You know, when you look at the number of homicide victims, and the percentage, I would say 9 out of 10 homicide victims are African American. And so when the police decided to pull back, when the police pulled back, and thank God there are police officers, and there continue to be police officers who will still answer the call. But when you don't feel supported, there is a response there where you will pull back and you will leave the force. And by leaving the force and by retirements going up, it's leaving communities less safe because they don't have the resources to deal with the crime because police officers are leaving the force in droves.
Okay.